Bay. This, believe it or not, is the jewel of the Lancashire coast, Morecambe. I bet Judith Chalmers wish she was here. I once heard some comedian on the television say that the most exciting thing that happens in Morecambe is when the traffic lights change. I thought that was a bit steep. I mean, there's still the amusement arcade, and for the more active, you can go fishing. There are a few limitations, of course, but if you take your own excavator, you shouldn't have too many problems. But to be fair, at 10 to 6 on a wet Friday afternoon, it's a bit hard to believe that Morecambe is the home of entertainment with a capital, well, N. I mean, their idea of fun seems to be find the cinema. But having spent the whole evening doing that, and as a result missing the pubs, there is one more thing to try out. For amazingly enough, if you toddle down to the end of the pier, you won't believe your ears. For Morecambe is the home of Northern Soul. It's not only the dancing they come for, but Northern Soul is also about the records. Some rare singles have been known to change hands here for as much as £1,000. In the past, it's been Stoke, Manchester, Blackpool and Wigan. Now it's Morecambe.
The actual club itself is built up probably over a period of 11 months, going into our first anniversary coming up in April, of around an average of about possibly 100 people a week sending for memberships from literally all over the country, from as far away as the very, very tip of Scotland to Cornwall.
Northern Soul has kept going through an amazing amount of musical changes in the last 20 years, and a lot of its success is down to the DJs.
It's basically obscure American soul releases made by black musicians and black singers from 1964 up until today. I say 64 onwards because that was really when the Motown sound came together, and most of the records that were initially played on the Northern Soul scene tended to be artists that were attempting to recreate that Motown sound, in some instances better than actually Motown did it themselves.
What interests me is why black American music that failed to get much airplay in the States should have created such a fanatical following in this country.
In the States, I honestly don't feel there's the same feel for the music generally. They've also got a lot more to take their attention stateside as well. Soul music over there is more of a way of life. Over here, it's always been basically by the media snubbed or belittled. It's only recently, for instance, that Radio 1 have got into having a regular soul show, as they have now.
My ego really has come from making the record from nothing to widely accepted on the scene and seeing everybody enjoy it and actually bringing it from total obscurity. I mean, the Pointer Sisters, in actual fact, was a record that was totally nothing and became an immense favourite throughout the UK, as did Willie Mitchell, the Champion. What with the recession of the last few years, I think people have identified with soul music as being a happy weekend, as opposed to the recession and the dole queue and what have you.
And I think 1984 we'll see some Northern Soul high-energy cover versions making the UK top 50.
Searling Levine was once the high priest of Northern Soul when he was a DJ at the famous Blackpool Mecca. But for several years now, Ian has been living and working in London as a successful record producer. His roots are very much in Northern Soul, but he's come away from that scene now to develop high energy, very much the hot tip to become the soul music of the 80s. Still, he remains something of a folk hero back in Morecambe.
Ian Levine, to make it perfectly clear, has been my main influence. When I first started collecting records in 1970, I got to know Ian through a club he used to work as resident at in Blackpool, the Highland Room. They were never an all-nighter, but commanded an all-nighter type following. People would travel from all over the country, and Ian's taste, although admittedly he had access to the States before anybody else did, to pick up the records, Ian's taste shone through there, and he influenced a lot of people like myself.
My productions are brand new songs from 1984 with a 1984 sound, but musically and structurally I still think even those are a lot of